It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of July 19th, 2002. With 3 films to look at, let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Stuart Little 2. Comparing this to the first movie, this is actually more in line with the original novels by E.B. White. On this one, you have Stuart basically essentially going to school. He's actually driving his little car for the first movie around. Like, he's doing more things on his own, and he meets this canary named Margalo, voiced by Melanie Griffith. And, he finds out that she's involved with this Falcon, voiced by James Woods, who plays the villain in this. And chaos and hilarity ensues, I guess. And it's interesting that this is a very interesting film, to say the least, because it's very, very short. I mean, it's barely an hour long. I think it's at 76 minutes the last time I saw it. But, yeah, it's a very, very short movie. But, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was on the same pace as the first movie. I will say, though, the budget for this particular film was $120 million. Did anything from that trailer look like, that commercial I just showed you, did anything look like that was worth $120 million? I mean, I personally don't think so. In fact, the first movie... okay, I take that back. The first movie was around that same level. Like, how do you spend $133 million on Stuart Little, of all things? Because that's how much the first movie, the budget was for that. But still, how do you spend that much money on a movie like this? Where does that money go? Like, I mean, if there was more effort being put into the special effects, maybe... I mean, maybe that's what it is, because it's a mix of CG and also puppeteer work as well, so... I don't know, but still, $120 million, man, just like... That still baffles me, but like I said before, this is still a really good movie. I like the first Stuart Little movie a lot. I do like this one enough as a good, fun little adventure film. I mean, it's kind of similar to Bay Pig in the City, which... the big difference is, I think Bay Pig in the City is actually a far superior film than the first film, even though I like the first film a lot, but Bay Pig in the City actually does more with the characters, explores more, there's more interesting storylines going on in that movie. This one, it's kind of cool to see Michael J. Fox and Melanie Griffith have chemistry together as friends. Like, they don't set Stuart and Margalo up to be like, you know, boyfriend-girlfriend type of stuff, but you do get that there is a nice little friendship between the two of them. And even though she's eventually going to betray him at the end of the movie, but like I said, it's a mercifully short movie. Like I said, it's barely an hour. It's barely over an hour long. So they knew exactly when to get in, get out. Like it's like vapor. Like, you go in, you don't realize that you've only been there for an hour and a half. And it's just like, oh, that was a quick watch. And like I said, it's fine for what it is. It's nothing too spectacular, nothing too grand in any way, shape, or form, but it's a nice sequel. It's a sequel that's just as good as the original film. The very definition of a film that's just as good as the original film. I think kids really enjoy it. I think the adults who like the first film can definitely get a lot of elements of the first phase of this one in here and really enjoy a whole lot of it. It's a nice looking film. I mean, it's got a lot of good things about it. It's a fun adventure film. I think it works on all levels. I think it is a very solid, very entertaining film. I really like it a lot. So, Stuart Little 2... if you like the first one, I think you're definitely going to like the second one as well. So that is Stuart Little 2. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson in K-19, The Widowmaker. The mission is over. Like, Harrison Ford's accent in this movie is pretty, it's not the worst, but it certainly isn't the greatest either. But and I'm sorry, I said Liam Neeson. It's like Liam Neeson. Like, I mean, take that for what you will. But K-19, The Widowmaker. This is a film that takes place in 1961. It focuses its story on the Soviet hotel-class submarine, the K-19, The Widowmaker, and directed by Catherine Bigelow. This was actually her first film that most people got to see since Strange Days. She directed an independent film, The Weight of Water, and I don't think she did anything else until we got to The Hurt Locker. Yeah, the Hurt Locker came about 7 years after this movie came out. And this movie did not do very well at the box office and wasn't really a critical success either. There's also a co-production of National Geographic Films, who basically funded the movie through a wholly owned taxable subsidiary of the National Geographic Society. And it was essentially one of the most expensive independent films ever made, between $90 and $100 million. But you know, you only make $65 million of that back. It's yeah, it did not turn out as well as they probably thought it would. You know, these submarine movies can be really, really good and very interesting. You know, some of the best ones we've had. You know, Das Boot. You know, Hunt for Red October, Crimson Tide, U-571. And there are times in here where it definitely, even something like the comedy, like Down Periscope, was really, really good. Sometimes in this movie, you get some pretty interesting scenes in here. I think the performances overall are pretty good, and some of the atmosphere under the submarine, I think, is very well done. But the screenwriting in particular, it's kind of where the film starts to take a tumble, and the action sequences get a little too cartoonish at times. I mean, you have a movie that cost $90 to $100 million, when Stuart Little 2 is looking much better than a movie like this in K-19 The Widowmaker. There's a clear problem here. Like, where's that money going to? I mean, at least with Stuart Little 2, I could see kind of where the money was going to, sort of, but in this, it's almost $100 million. Where's that money going to? But like I said, I think the performances do stick out the most. I think they are the strongest elements of the movie, but other than that, though, there really isn't a whole lot here compared to some of the other great submarine films we've had. I mean, there's times when there could be cool aspects to it, but we need a good story to really get invested in this. And there's the potential, there's somewhere possibly a good story regarding this submarine and the people involved in it. But unfortunately, the film overall doesn't really leave you with anything when you get out of it. It's just like, it's okay, I guess, but I feel like there could have been so much more to it. I think there was more to it going into the concept and the idea, but I don't think they had the right screenwriter to actually put this together and make a really good, legitimate submarine movie. Like I said, if you want to see some good ones, Das Boot, Crimson Tide, Hunt for Red October, U-571, Down Periscope, like, watch those first, then watch K-19 The Widowmaker and realize that out of all those ones I just mentioned, this will probably be the weakest one of the bunch, so. K-19 The Widowmaker. So let's go ahead and wrap this week's up with Toy Boat. Let's go ahead and wrap this week's movies up with our last film, Eight-Legged Freaks. Eight-Legged Freaks, the movie that was trying to bring the 50s pulp cult sci-fi film genre back into the early 2000s, and the results were maybe not what they expected to. I mean, looking back at some of the movies that Warner Brothers put out in 2002 was not a good year for them. I mean, we've talked about some of their movies, and I'm noticing that a lot of their movies were not great films. I've barely seen one notable movie from the list that I've talked about so far that they've done that as actually good. Let me double check on that. Yeah, I'm looking at the list here, and not the best slate they have here. Walk to Remember, Collateral Damage, Queen of the Damned, The Time Machine, Showtime, Death to Smoochie, Murder by Numbers. Insomnia was probably their best overall film, and Divine Secrets of the Aliyah Sisterhood. Okay. Scooby-Doo. Juana Man. No. Powerpuff Girls movie. If the Powerpuff Girls movie is in the top 3 of the best movies from your studio this year compared to some of the other movies with pristine names in front of it, then you are really having a bad year. And this movie pretty much speaks for itself. You got spiders that are exposed to mutagenic toxic waste, causing them to grow to colossal sizes and attack a small American mining town. You got David Arquette, you got Scarlett Johansson in here, so you also have Dougie Doug, just to name a few. Produced by Roland Emmerich, so quality there, I guess. But this is funny, because this was actually supposed to be titled Iraq Attack, and because of the September 11th, like, you would have think a movie like this would be changed around because of the events of 9/11, but the similarity to Iraq Attack made the title seem inappropriate, so they changed it to Eight-Legged Freaks, and that's the entire gist of the marketing campaign, is David Arquette screaming, "Get back, you eight-legged freaks!" Like, this was Snakes on a Plane before Snakes on a Plane came to be. I mean, this was a movie that I think they were trying their hardest to try to create a memeable film, even though memes kind of not existed at this point, or obviously they didn't exist at this point, because it was still very much the internet was still very much off to what it is now. But you could tell that this movie was trying to get on the viral marketing campaign early on, and didn't do that so well. I mean, compared to Snakes on a Plane, it's probably the better of the two movies. I mean, there are promising aspects to it early on, but it's one of those movies that kind of dips down in quality pretty quickly. Like, it it kind of reminds me of, it's trying to be more like Tremors, which I think Tremors perfected this very well, bringing the 50s style B movie back, which came out in 1990, and then in 96 you had Mars Attacks, which I feel like this is close to that, because it starts off promising with Mars Attacks, and then as the movie goes on, it just dips down in quality. This film kind of feels just like that. It's a film that feels like there's a lot of good ideas there. There's some really good moments in particular that could be very funny and very interesting, but the CG spiders get old pretty quickly, and the movie kind of overstays its welcome too much. I mean, it's almost 2 hours long, and for me, that's a movie like this does not really need to be that long. If anything, you need it to be kind of on the same. It needs to be something like on the same runtime level as Stuart Little 2. Like if it's just under an hour, if it's just over an hour, I should say, then you probably have something there. But this, yeah, it just didn't work. I mean, there are times when it's promising. There are times when there are definitely some ideas that could be very interesting to watch, but it's just not worth it in the end. It starts off promisingly enough, but when it's all said and done, you really come out of it feeling hollow. Like, you could honestly watch the MST3K episode where they do the Great Spider Invasion. I mean, that's probably a better hilarious ride than watching this movie in particular. This is just, I mean, it's trying, but not enough for me to recommend it, unfortunately. Starts off promisingly enough, but just can't really find that second level to make it the cult classic that it's trying to be. So that's my thoughts on Eight-Legged Freaks, or as they called it then, Iraq Attack in some spots too, because it actually did get that name in some areas like Europe and other countries around the world. So that should tell you something, that Europe and other countries were okay with the title Iraq Attack, but in the U.S., no, not so much. But then again, you kind of understand why. But yeah, so that's Eight-Legged Freaks. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap July up on the next episode with two movies, Austin Powers and Goldmember, the third installment in the Austin Powers series, and Disney's first attempt at bringing a theme park ride to the big screen with the Country Bears. This came, of course, before the other big one, but we'll save that for next summer. But Austin Powers and Goldmember and the Country Bears, we'll take a look at both of those movies. Again, prepare to be surprised on one of them. I won't say which one, but I think you have an idea of which one you're probably thinking of. But we'll take a look at both of those on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. And stay tuned, because after I post this up on Time About the Movies Flashback, we're flashing back to the start of May 1988 with 6 films: Shakedown, Salsa, Dead Heat, My Best Friend is a Vampire, Judgment in Berlin, and Prison. We'll see if we get all the clips this time around, because I know the last time we did this, I couldn't find some of the clips for the movies I wanted to talk about here. So I'm just letting you know that we're going to try to cover 6 movies on the next episode, on Flashback coming up. But we'll see what happens, and we will see right after this.